Hello, my fellow broke aristocrats, and a happy Wednesday to you. Today we're having an interesting conversation about how to prevent food spoilage. I wanted to have this conversation because I'm seeing a lot of people that are overbuying food. Food is sitting in the pantry or in the freezer, sometimes beyond what may be safe. And this is one of the problems when we buy more food than we can consume. We're seeing more waste, but we're also seeing an increased risk for food contamination or foodborne illness. And what inspired me to do this is because I'm getting over a stomach virus right now, and I had thought that it might be food poisoning because we had an outage here at the house, and my refrigerator, everything went bad. Yes, and I started to get a stomach bug, and I thought it might be related. I cleaned everything out, but unfortunately that was not the cause. Everybody at my job has this stomach virus, and it's not good. But before we get started, my tea today is PG Tips. I put a little bit of low-fat milk in it. I just love PG Tips. What can I tell you? It's got that beautiful, look how nice and strong it is. And I put a little milk in it. I always feel better when I've had PG Tips. So let me take my sip, our ritualistic sip when we do our tea times. Yummy. No sugar anymore. I'm not putting any coconut sugar in it. I talked in the past to people about how coconut sugar can be a great food or sweetener when you're trying to get off of sugar because it has a lower glycemic index. You can get it at Aldi's, you can get it at Trader Joe's. It's a healthier sweetener than cane sugar, excuse me. And then you can slowly taper that out as well. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been trying to get off sugar. But I have to say the cookies that are being sold by the Girl Scouts, I broke down and I bought some of the lemon, and it was very good. But I'm portioning it out, as they say. Okay, so today we're going to do how to prevent food spoilage. And how many people here, if you were going to via just corresponding with me, how many of you are getting this stomach virus that's going around? Anybody out there? Give a shout out how you're feeling, if you're okay, if you're safe. We've got it all at work. Everybody is sick all over the country with this horrible stomach virus, and then when it passes, you get it in the throat, the coughing, etc. It's viral. It's not a foodborne illness. But how would you know if it was a foodborne illness? Well, usually after you have a foodborne illness, after you've eaten the contaminated food, you're going to know within a couple of hours that that is what it is, because a feeling, that green feeling like, oh, I don't feel so good, vomiting, sweating, those are common symptoms that you have had food contamination. There are a couple of different common types of food-borne illness that we're concerned about. First on the list, absolutely, is Salmonella. It's usually something we get from poultry. So I always tell people, if you're buying chicken and it's on markdown, you really want to either freeze it right away or eat it right away because of the concern about Salmonella. A lot of people think that it's the Salmonella bacteria that's making them sick, but actually bacteria produce toxins. They produce something called endotoxins and exotoxins. Some of these toxins are not destroyed even when you boil or heat them. They're what we call heat stable. And this is why it's not enough to boil or cook food that has been contaminated, because of these toxins that are being given off by these various different types of bacteria. So cooking is not necessarily going to protect you from the deleterious effects of being exposed to a bacteria. In the case of Salmonella, you really want to wash that poultry, and you want to wash anything that may have been exposed to the poultry. I personally don't like people to be cutting chicken on a plastic cutting board, because they've done some studies on plastic cutting boards and found that they actually collect more bacteria than wooden cutting boards. And when you do clean up after preparing poultry, you want to wash everything with soap and water, but you may also want to take some warm water, put a little bit of bleach in it, about 10% approximately, a couple tablespoons. You don't need a lot of it, and just wash everything down with bleach, because bleach is a universal precaution. You also want to make sure about once a week or a couple times a month to really clean out your refrigerator, particularly if you're smelling something and it doesn't smell quite right. The rule of thumb, if you're trying to determine if something smells like it's off, don't have the person in the house with the worst sense of smell it. That's kind of the running joke that I grew up with, is that if daddy doesn't have a good sense of smell, he's going to smell it and say, well, this smells okay to me. That's not the guy that should be determining if something is contaminated. So be mindful of that. If something smells off, don't eat it, because again, those endotoxins, those toxins that are being produced by the bacteria, do give off a smell. So we've got salmonella. It's mostly found in poultry, in eggs, and in chicken. It's the potato salad at the party that sat out for too long. Excuse me. That can give you a risk of salmonella poisoning. You can feel salmonella poisoning anywhere from a couple of hours after you've been contaminated to a full 24 hours as it works its way through the digestive tract, and those endotoxins begin to cause side effects like diarrhea, vomiting, digestive upset, pain, headache, etc. And unfortunately, in the case of salmonella, those symptoms can go on for days and even weeks. Other common contaminants that we're concerned about are various different types of E. coli. E. coli can happen when a person doesn't wash their hands properly after using the restroom, and it can be found not just in uncooked meat, but also in vegetables that have not been washed properly. So for that reason, prior to eating anything, including vegetables, you really want to wash them. Listeria is a bacteria that's found in raw fish when you're going out and you're eating sushi, but it's also found in the raw cheeses and in the raw dairy. So be mindful of that. So how cold should you have your refrigerator? Well, we say about 38 Celsius at least. I like to go below that, or excuse me, 38 Fahrenheit. You can go below that. 18 Celsius if you're on Celsius. And in addition to making sure that the thermostat is down, you really want to check for expired products when you can. That's different than the sell-by date. It's a good idea to know the difference. You want to also store things in the right places. Dairy, milk, etc. can go on the top shelf where things are nice and cold. Meat can be stored on the bottom shelf on a tray. You can put a nice wrapper on top to keep food from dropping on top of it. Rinse it before you use it. If you're going to be cooking something with chicken, I personally tell people to put it in water, warm water with salt. Clean it really, really well. You may want to put some lemon juice or vinegar also in that bath for the chicken, and then scrub the chicken really well, soak it and scrub it really well. I also tell people to remove the skin if you can, because the skin is empty calories, and we've talked in the past about the importance of making sure that the food you eat is nutrient dense. You don't need to be eating chicken fat and all that naughty stuff. It's bad for the heart, it's bad for your health, and the bacteria either will grow on its highest levels is going to be on the skin of the chicken or underneath, that underneath area between the skin and the meat. So I tell people to lift the skin or even remove the skin for health reasons, soak it in that saltwater bath, go ahead and add some lemon or vinegar and soak it if you like, scrub it really good, rinse it several times, wash the counter and everything else down with soap and water, and go ahead and put some bleach water, wash everything down with bleach. Don't go crazy on the bleach. You don't need a lot. A couple tablespoons should do the trick. In say a gallon of water, and wash everything, including your refrigerator, on a regular basis. You can go ahead and separate things. The fruits and the vegetables can be separated if you like, because they do require different humidity. Things can be stored outside safely. Potatoes, onions can be stored safely outside. So can avocados and tomatoes. When it comes to freezing meat and freezing things, make sure, excuse me, make sure they're frozen right away. You can put them in a container. Make sure to date it when you actually made that dish. Absolutely got to date it. You don't want to be digging through the freezer and find something and not remember when you froze it. And just make sure it's airtight. Aluminum foil is sometimes a great idea. When it comes to your pantry, you really want to check your pantry on a regular basis. Please make sure you're rotating items in the pantry. If you're food planning, that's going to help you get down food spoilage. And like I say, I'm not a fan of people overbuying things, because overbuying puts you at risk of throwing more stuff out, and it also puts you at risk of food contamination. So you really want to be checking that pantry to make sure there's nothing there that could be going bad. No dents in cans. Dents in cans, or any can that's bubbling up, if you see the top is convex. If it's starting to have a convex surface, that could indicate bacteria. In the case of canned foods, we're looking for something like botulism. Botulism is an extremely dangerous toxin. It's a nerve toxin, and it can cause what's called flaccid paralysis. So please take that seriously. If you see a dented can, if you see a can that has that convex surface, please don't eat it, throw it out. In terms of saving money, stick to your meal plans. I think I've talked about this in the past. If you're buying and you're organizing things in relationship to your meal plan, you're going to really be able to get that waste down. I think I went through everything. Wash hands before and after. Always a great idea to, in order to reduce exposing yourself or your family to any contaminants. And I think that's it. I think we covered everything. That's all I have for you in terms of making sure you're safe and healthy, and we can hopefully reduce some of those awful foodborne illnesses that can make life so unpleasant. Okay, that about wraps it up for this video of Broke Aristocrats. Be sure and share, like, subscribe, and tell me what you're doing to take care of yourself. And tell me if you are having any challenges in terms of food spoilage or food contamination, or if you have any questions for me. Again, my name is Dr. WHIMSY Anderson, and I'm here to help you stay true to your budget and stay healthy and live the good life. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.